Welcome to the Candidate Forum for Robbinsdale Mayor, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth, and Robbinsdale. I'm the former forum moderator, Jackie Wells. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Golden Valley and live in Golden Valley, so none of the candidates are on my absentee ballot. This part of our forum will take place until about 12:40. The two candidates for Robbinsdale Mayor are, in alphabetical order, Bill Flanigan and Wally Langfellow. We have asked them for an opening statement telling you why each would like to serve as Robbinsdale Mayor and the qualifications and experiences each has for this position. Candidates, you see in front of you a timer who will notify you at 1 minute, at 30 seconds, and when your time is up. You may finish your sentence after the stop sign, please. Bill Flanigan, would you present your opening statement of up to 3 minutes?
Thank you and hello. If I'm elected, I will represent all Robbinsdale citizens. My key priorities are maintaining an efficient city government with excellent services, having an open and transparent government, and prioritizing the environment. I have worked hard for Robbinsdale on the City Council for 40 years, learning the details of Robbinsdale government and how to work with other cities and state of Minnesota, local businesses, residents, and other groups to get things done. With the advent of COVID-19 and state and federal budget deficits, it is critical to elect a mayor with government experience and deep knowledge of how to get things done. This is especially true at a time when at least 40% of our city council will be new to their jobs. We will work together to collaborate and be efficient and effective for you. Our community's needs are ever changing, and the pace of those changes is accelerating. As mayor, I will challenge myself and our city to learn, improve, and make necessary progress to reflect the good morals and changing needs within our city. The City Council must push to be more inclusive and open to all people. We need to seek people out where they are and not wait for them to come to us. I will push for policies and practices that are both anti-racist and realistic. Another thing that compelled me to run for mayor is our environment and our incomplete work thereon. I was a co-founder of the Environmental Cities organization, and I've done many things to make the earth a better place. But we can do more, so much more. We can help homeowners and businesses implement environmentally sound practices, install solar panels on city buildings, and have experts give us opinions as to how to improve our energy use at no cost. We owe a clean and healthy earth to our children and grandchildren. I am proud that I have been a part of the team of citizens, businesses, and other council members that has worked to make Robbinsdale the growing and vibrant city that it is today. I have been there with you every step of the way in that process. We have strong, affordable, and varied options for housing. The downtown and its Eat Street vibe and many small businesses are the envy of surrounding communities. If elected, I will continue listening to you to build a better city that everybody can be proud of. Please visit flaniganformayor.com and please vote for Bill Flanigan to be the next mayor of Robbinsdale. Thank you.
Thank you. Wally Langfellow, would you please present your opening statement of up to 3 minutes?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, and I'd also like to thank CCX for hosting today's event once again. For the past 3 months, I have been knocking on doors, talking to residents throughout the city of Robbinsdale, getting your opinions, getting your ideas, and answering your questions. And understandably, folks have had a lot of questions. Questions like, what can we do to make our police department even better? Among those things, I would like to see us have additional training for our police department so that they get to know our residents better and be more informed about our continually diverse population and changing demographics in Robbinsdale. I'd like to create a policing task force, something that would be made up of folks from the Human Rights Commission, as well as city council members and citizens, so that they can look at the training. How are we training our police? And where exactly are we hiring what our hiring processes look like at this point? I'd also like to see our police get to know our residents better. I've talked about this a lot over the last couple of months. Let's get them out of their cars once in a while. They're not always on calls. Let's have them walk a beat through downtown Robbinsdale. Talk to the residents. Get to know the residents a little bit better. Form of some communication. Get them out on bikes. We used to have bike patrols in Robbinsdale 10, 15 years ago. I would love to see that happen again in our city. In addition, I'd also like to see more transparency with our police department. And by that I mean, let's get our police reports and put them online. Let's have the availability once a week to go and look and see what's been going on with our police department, and you can see what's going on in your neighborhoods as well. I think these are all very important things that would help our police department better. We talked about downtown Robbinsdale, and just about everybody that I've talked to throughout these past couple of months loves what we've done in downtown Robbinsdale. I think it's time now to add some businesses and to help the city move forward by getting businesses that serve our day-to-day needs. People have suggested to me, and I've got a long list of those suggestions. They've suggested, let's get a bike shop in there, let's get a pet store in there, let's get just an auto parts center, a garden center. These are types of businesses that I think as a city we should pursue and help bring to Robbinsdale. Not just downtown Robbinsdale, but Robbins Center and Robbins Town Center as well. And finally, a lot of people, of course, are concerned at this point about what's going to happen with the Blue Line and with light rail. Obviously, we know Met Council has decided not to use the BNSF corridor anymore. They've decided to go a different direction. One direction has been suggested that they come through North Minneapolis and right down Bottineau Boulevard. That would be a great option for Robbinsdale, but will it happen? Can it happen? What are going to be the costs of it? I would think that we should look at that as hard as we can, but let's also entertain other opportunities. Perhaps maybe commuter rail, that we could run on the same train lines and the same distance that it goes down that BNSF corridor. It would cost a lot less, and we could get it done a lot more quickly. And I hope for your vote, and I ask you to go to wallyformayor.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I will ask questions that were sent in by voters to the League's email or phone for these candidates. We ask the candidates to give us 1-minute responses, and we'll begin with Wally Langfellow. Our first question is, Robbinsdale could face significant financial constraints in 2021. What are your top 2 budget priorities for the next 4 years? Please give us a little information on them, please.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to start off by talking about the community center that has been suggested for Robbinsdale. It actually was on the board back in March when COVID hit. It was put off to the side for the time being. This was a project that the City Council put forward, a $5 million project that would go to Sanborn Park at some point, at some place in Sanborn Park. This is an example of something I think we need to shelve for the time being. An add-on tax at this time, when folks are reaching for and not knowing where their next dollars might be coming from, not knowing if their next paycheck is coming in. I don't think we need any add-on taxes in Robbinsdale. So I think that that would be number 1 on my list of budget concerns. I'd also like to see, budget-wise, I'd like to see us put more dollars into our police department. So perhaps we can have some folks that are outside of the police department, maybe bring in some counselors that would be less costly and that they could be in some nonviolent situations and help our police department.
Thank you. Same question for Bill Flanigan, please.
Thank you. My top 2 priorities would be to have a budget that is normal, that is flexible, but that doesn't go up too much. And then the other priority is to reimagine various different things in the city. For example, the police department is already 54% of our budget. We can work to be more flexible with that, maybe have a social worker do something that police officers would rather not do, and do it at a different cost. With regard to the actual community center, we have put that on the shelf. It is something that we cannot afford right now. Someday we may. We shouldn't be looking at the current transit center for that. That's sort of a white elephant, and there's a lot of expense in connection with that. So deep knowledge of the budget, which I've studied for 40 years, if you elect me mayor, I think I will be able to participate in that and have some creative things to prevent us from getting too far afield with the budget.
Thank you. Please give examples of how you have been able to work productively with those who do not share your opinions. And we start with Bill Flanigan.
Well, I have many people that are not in the same political party with me, have different opinions, and many of those people are endorsing me. And I always try to answer people when they have a concern. I try to go to them either by phone or internet and communicate with them, find out what they want. And sometimes when I have an opinion about how something is going to happen, you would be amazed that I, like all the council members, go to a meeting and people come and they talk to us and we change our opinion from what we have read and what we have thought about before. So I always like to encourage people to come to us, give input to us, and you would be amazed at how much you can move your city council by showing up. The world is run by those who show up.
Thank you. Wally Langfellow, same question, please.
Well, thank you. You know, the past 3 months, as I said earlier, I've been talking to a lot of residents. We've knocked on over 6,000 doors over the last 3 months. So I've talked to a lot of people, and obviously not everybody shares the same opinions that I do. But what I have found, when I do get questions that I don't know the answer to, I seek the answers from people who I do know, who may have some interest and some background with those questions. So yeah, are you going to run into people who have a different opinion than yours? Of course you are. But I like to think that I have the ability to reach out, to talk to people who have expertise, and to make sure that we give the best answer for the entire city of Robbinsdale, not just my answer, not just the answer of city council members, but the answer that the people in general would like to have, and an answer that comes from some background and some people with expertise in that given area.
Thank you. Let's see, in the past 2 years, Robbinsdale has seen significant redevelopment, including the Hy-Vee grocery store and 2 new market rate apartment buildings. What do you view as the benefits and challenges of these redevelopment projects, and how would you approach future redevelopment issues and questions if elected? And we start with Wally Langfellow.
Thank you. Well, the Hy-Vee project and, of course, the redevelopment of the 2 new housing projects in Robbinsdale, I think the biggest challenge clearly has been or will be infrastructure. If you go to 36th and France right now, the traffic lineup at 36th and France, particularly during rush hour, is monumental at times. Folks are cutting through neighborhoods and so on. These are the types of things, challenges that we are going to face going forward. There will be more folks moving into the new development that is between Hy-Vee and between the new housing that right now is the Birdtown Flats. So that is also going to initiate more traffic in the area. That's going to be the #1 challenge as far as that goes. I know that Hy-Vee has been busy. There have been plenty of police calls down to Hy-Vee over the past couple of years. That's a challenge as well, and we need to address that challenge going forward, talk with the police, see what we can do about taking care of that, and maybe having Hy-Vee chip in and pay for some of our policing that goes on down there.
Thank you. Bill Flanigan, same question, please.
Jackie, could you reread that question?
I sure can. In the past 2 years, Robbinsdale has seen significant redevelopment, including the Hy-Vee grocery store and 2 new market-rate apartment buildings. What do you view as the benefits and challenges of these redevelopment projects, and how would you approach future redevelopment issues and questions if elected?
Well, the benefit of those 3 projects is to add vitality, add people, add commerce, add business to the city of Robbinsdale. Hy-Vee, we needed a grocery store. It, like the other 2 projects, adds tax base. It helps support all of our businesses in downtown, along with the 2 apartment buildings, because more people coming into town come to our different businesses. The challenges are, to some extent, as Wally indicated, the infrastructure, but we have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan that we diligently work on and study at the City Council to make sure that those are handled, and they will be handled. The challenges with that is, like everything else, to keep your taxes low and to pay for these things. These 3 buildings that you mentioned, they will help once the tax increment financing on them is paid off. They will help immeasurably to decrease the amount of taxes the individual residents have to pay on their houses.
Thank you. Earlier, both of you mentioned the police department. What changes if any, would you pursue relating to the Robbinsdale Police Department and its community relations? And we start with Bill Flanigan, please.
Well, we have to realize that our police department is understaffed right now. 27 sworn officers are authorized. We have 5 less than that, 18.5% down. Hard to get police officers now. We need to look at alternatives, like I mentioned earlier, maybe a social worker to handle some of the jobs at a cheaper cost. We need to collect data about traffic stops, see if there's racial profiling. We need to evaluate our training and train our officers to handle new situations and racial bias in a different way. We need to review our processes about how police misconduct is reported. We need to be more transparent in all of these things, and we need to improve our recruiting process so that our police force can more accurately reflect what we are as a society, our racial balances and our socioeconomic balances and things like that. And then we need to get the police out into the community more as we can.
Thank you. Wally Langfellow, same question, please.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I said that both of you had mentioned the police department in an earlier comment. What changes would you pursue, if any, relating to the Robbinsdale Police Department and its community relations?
Yeah, and these are items that I've been talking about all along. As a matter of fact, I talked about it in my opening statement. I would love to see more training for our police department. As Bill mentioned, we are understaffed right now, so that means we need to reach outside of Robbinsdale. We need to reach to different places that we probably never looked before to bring policemen into and policewomen into our system. We also need to make sure that our police department reflects our city of Robbinsdale. If we have 20% people of color in the city of Robbinsdale, our police department probably should look like that as well going forward, as well as our city staff. Both of those things need to happen as we go forward in the city of Robbinsdale. I'd also like to say, as I mentioned a little earlier, a policing task force. I think that that would really help so that the residents understand what's going on with our police department. As I mentioned earlier, bring in a Human Rights Commission member, a city council member, and some citizens as well as members of the police department, and let's get our police department to where everybody in the city of Robbinsdale understands it.
Thank you. So this voter asked, how would you balance short-term and long-term goals as mayor? And they gave us one example, the community center, which I've heard you both address earlier, but the other example they gave was such as the new water treatment plant. So again, the main question is balancing short-term and long-term goals. And we start with Wally Langfellow, please.
Well, I'll start with the water treatment plant. As most folks in Robbinsdale know, your water bills are going up. If they haven't already, you'll be noticing it very soon. It's a project that is going to take some time. I think that the end result will be great. However, you know, when we do projects like this, one thing I would really love to see the city of Robbinsdale do, and not that we don't have open houses on things like this, but when every single person in the city of Robbinsdale is affected, like they are with water, it would be great if we reached out and either at minimum did a survey and at maximum put it on a ballot. Let's find out what our citizens want to do. The water bills are going up. I like the idea of the water being softer. I've gone through numerous dishwashers and washing machines, as many people in Robbinsdale have. But I think that what we need to do when we have large projects like this is to actually ask the citizens ahead of time. Then let City Council work with it afterwards. Don't just have an open house after we have had the decisions basically made.
Thank you. Bill Flanigan, same question, please.
So we have a process to balance short-term and long-term goals. Every year we engage in a budget process, and it really starts in March, it ends in December, and those are many times our short-term goals. But as I indicated earlier, we also have 5 and 10-year capital improvement plans. We have 5 and 10-year park improvement plans. We have plans for really every department of the city for long-term and short-term goals. The City Council does not run the city on a day-to-day basis. They must give the staff, and especially through the city manager, the guidance of what our long-term and short-term goals are. So we need to be a little more active than we have in the past, but we can continue to do the process that we have reaching out to the citizens and finding out what they want, and then going through our normal process for short-term and long-term goals.
Thank you. Let's see, our next question is, what are some ways, if any, that you would suggest to make Robbinsdale city government more reflective of the community? And we start with Bill Flanigan.
So that is always a problem in suburbs like ours. We need to be reaching out in different locations to find people where they are. If you're talking about reflective of our differences, we need to get more people of color. I've been advocating this at our goals and objectives session for the past several years when I bring up that our police department needs to be reflective more of the population. And there's so many reasons why that doesn't happen. We need to get beyond that. We need to go outside of our normal processes. We need to hire a consultant if necessary to do that. We need to have reports and data at the end of each and every year that tell this is what our workforce is like, and we need to be trying to have goals to more closely approximate what our citizens are. And we also need to build a bench, get people that can come up through the ranks and have these positions.
Thank you. Wally Langfellow, same question, please.
Thank you. Well, if these are opportunities for folks within the city of Robbinsdale, whether it is with the police department or city staff, I think, as Bill mentioned, we do need to look outside of the city. If we cannot find the people within our department, our current departments, when we are going through the hiring process, we need to start advertising in places that we haven't advertised before. I talked about this a little bit earlier. This is something that the city of Robbinsdale in general hasn't had to do in the past, but we do need to reflect who we are. As I mentioned just a couple of answers ago, if we have a 20% population, people of color, it would really be good for folks to walk into City Hall and see that same reflection, and when they see a police car go by, that it's the same thing. You know, we should at least, at minimum, reflect who we are as far as people of color and the rest of our population, and we need to make that extra effort. I don't know that we have had that in the past, but I think we need to do it going forward for sure.
Thank you. Somehow our allotted time has sure flown by, so I'm going to ask each of you to make a 1-minute closing statement, and we will start with Wally Langfellow.
Thank you. Well, for the past 35 years, our family has lived in Robbinsdale, and I've run my own business since 1994. If I'm elected mayor, I will provide leadership, business savvy, and a fresh perspective to City Council, the perspective of a longtime resident who thinks like a resident, who thinks more like you do. I haven't been on council, but I think that that is an advantage for me because I see things differently. I see things like a resident does. And while this is the first time I've ever run for elected office, it's not the first time I've been involved in the community. I've served as a volunteer board member, a volunteer coach, and I helped lead a group to save our schools several years ago. If I'm elected, I will be the eyes and ears of residents on decisions that are made by City Council and at City Hall. I'm committed to upgrading our police department, increasing diversity in our city staff, revitalizing and improving our parks, and in addition, bringing more small businesses to Robbinsdale, businesses that will, in the end, serve our daily needs. I ask for your vote, and I ask you to visit my website at wallyformayor.com.
Thank you. Bill Flanigan, please.
Yes, my wife Terry and I have lived in Robbinsdale for 42 years. I've been on the council for 40 years. I'm still a regular citizen that pays taxes and goes to all of our different stores, restaurants, and everything. We brought up our 4 kids here. They all went to Robbinsdale schools. I love Robbinsdale. My family loves Robbinsdale, and I want to continue to support this town. I do think it's important at this point, with 40% of the council being new, to have some experience in the office of the mayor. I will be a new voice in the office of the mayor. I will concentrate on the things that are in my pamphlet that you may have seen as I passed out these things: inclusive, transparent government for all, the nuts and bolts of city government, and helping with the environment. So again, please visit bloniganformayor.com. Please vote for Bill Blonigan for Mayor of Robbinsdale. Thanks to the League of Women Voters and all of you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the candidates for Robbinsdale Mayor, Bill Blonigan and Wally Langfellow. We appreciate you participating in the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum. We will now take a 5-minute break before we begin our forum for City Council Wards 1 and 2. Thank you so much.
Thank you.